Welcome to another The neXup podcast. I hope you guys had an awesome week. It's, again, holiday season. A lot of you guys out there getting a last minute Christmas gift. And I hope that I can bring just some news, some information about, some of this consumer tech out there from someone who like you, who work a 9 to 5, who just love tech, don't have a lot of money to just throw out there away. And just want to take the time to talk about it. So what is the neXup? The neXup started as a way for me to start about talking my passion. Number one is tech. Been a big fan of technology, particularly smartphones, since the Motorola Droid. Picked it up, tried to root it after having read a couple of articles, went to a number of forums, rooted it, and then got entangled in custom ROMs. And from there, I just kind of fell in love just with smartphone tech and seeing just where we continue to go with not just smartphone technology, but just tech in general. I remember when you were talking, for me, one of the things that was appealing to smartphones, especially when I had the Droid, just kind of watch it continue to evolve. I remember the debates and arguments that a lot of us had, especially those of us who were in the Android landscape. We kind of felt that like one of the things that Google fell short of versus something like iOS and iPhone was there was all these accessories and everything that was built to support the iPhone and iOS. I mean, you would go to stores and it seemed like everyone had some type of accessory for the iPhone. You had boom boxes, you had radios, you had alarm clocks, you had everything literally built around the iPhone where you can slide it on there and it worked. And we didn't quite have that with Android, and particularly because there were just so many other manufacturers making Android and different styles, and you had the different looks. When you talk about, let's just take back when the Motorola Droid came out. That phone was kind of a little bit more beefier considering it had a keyboard versus something like the iPhone. And then you have phone companies kind of go away from that because of how fast the landscape for Android kind of evolved and changed. It was harder for manufacturers or a lot of these companies out there who were building accessories for these phones to keep up. Whereas something like the iPhone, you knew at least with the iPhone, it was going to kind of keep that same footprint for a number of years, making it last a little bit longer. But as Android continued to evolve and try to catch up, and we started to see manufacturers also adapt to that. And you look at now where we are with smart hubs and assistant devices and how it just kind of changed the landscape because of something like that. You no longer have to rely on, can my phone just sit in this slot or fit there? Instead, you can pair it basically through Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, so that now, even though you may have a different iPhone, whether it be a large iPhone or a small iPhone, or even Android, depending on the device, it's all about just connecting to the same wireless network or into the same assistant hub or whatever you're using. And that allowed for kind of Android to kind of bridge the gap and catch up to what the iPhone was doing back when we had the Motorola Droid back in 2010 and 2011. And now we're starting to see us kind of move away from stuff like that. Just kind of seeing that continued evolution is what sparked my joy and excitement to continue to talk about it. And that's what this basically exists, to talk about stuff like that. But I also have a passion for sports and just talking, just things in general that is trending, particularly in whether it be movies and, like I said, sports or tech. And that is pretty much why the neXup exists. It started out as a website, and now, well, it's a podcast. I do have a YouTube channel, but a YouTube channel is basically a place where I do put my podcast or, talk about some short subjects that are, quick hit topics. But for today, let me go ahead and bring before you what we got going on today. So I'm going to talk about this trend for flagship chasers. All of us going out there and chasing the latest flagship for all the specs. Is that really necessary? I'm going to go over, my real review of the Pixel 4 XL. Now I had it a month, kind of give you my thoughts, my likes, my dislike. And then I'm going to talk a little bit more about Stadia. And after that, we'll end it. And then I'll go into my after credits where I talk about, sports and things that have nothing to do with tech. And so if you haven't been paying attention to Beyond a Song when they have the end credits, so basically the past couple of weeks I've been trying something a little bit different. Because like I said, the neXup was originally meant for the website to be able to talk about tech being a primary topic, but also talk about things such as movies, TV shows, sports. But, having talking to different people, they're like, all right, you got to choose one niche. And I made tech my primary niche because that's the thing that out of all three of them, I'm the most passionate about. But I still like talking about those other two things. And especially this year, there's so much I want to talk about there with a lot going on. And I really want to have this platform to talk about that. But because I am trying to respect that this is mainly a tech show, my majority of the show is talking about tech. And then once I get to after the credits, that's where I talk about something that I would consider off topic. But before I get started, let me go ahead and talk about where you can find this show. So some of you may be listening on TuneIn Radio, SoundCloud, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Those are and also iHeartRadio. Those are the number of areas where you can catch this show, the neXup podcast. But let's go ahead and get to my first topic. And I'm talking about the flagship chasers, people like me who are excited about the latest flagship phones that come out every year. We hype about it. It's a hype beast about what is new, what is coming out there, what is the latest processor, what is the latest screen that we're using, how much RAM is in there, how large the phone. These are specs that really, in the grand scheme of things, we're not using it. Most people are not using our phone to the full potential. We really not. All these benchmark tests and all that stuff that we're putting our phones through, for what? Well, we do it because, we're just excited about it. We want to see the technology continue to evolve because it's more about bragging rights. It's about saying my phone can outperform your phone because of this spec, because it have this processor, because it has this GPU backing it up, because it have this amount of RAM. My display looks better than yours. My speaker's louder than yours. All of the things that really at the end of the day, no one really paid attention or used their phone for that reason, or for that particular reason why we bought it or why it was advertised. Yet we chase it. We chase those trends, the latest iPhones, the latest Galaxy phones. We're chasing it and we're spending the money for it. Over $1,000 now for these smartphones, almost double what smartphones cost less than a decade ago. This is the trend, and we're running after it, especially those of us in the States, because you have these carriers that are allowing us to buy these phones on payment plans. People are getting phones pretty much almost every year, if not sooner. And the reality is a lot of us that's doing that, you can say it's the younger generation that's jumping on board, throwing our money away on the latest phones, when in reality, we're using these phones the same way we use any phone. So do we really need to go out there and chase those trends? Do we really need the newest cameras? Are we really concerned about having the best processor other than just for bragging rights? All the eye candy we seeing on these phones, are we even utilizing it? And most of the time we're not. And when you look at the real difference between, let's just take your latest Snapdragon 855 processor. And I want to compare it to something like a low tier phone, like a Motorola G7 that you can buy from Best Buy for like $130. It's rocking a Snapdragon 632. So that processor is not the top of the line. Not at all. So when you look at the latest processor, it's running on average 20% faster as far as CPU speeds. Over a gigahertz faster than RAM speed, 2 times faster upload speeds. But for most people, for everyday use, you're not even going to notice that. Most of those specs that we throwing out there, when you compare these processors, the latest one compared to the mid-tier and low-tier processors, the only way you really get a chance to see that kind of power being used to its max is when you push your phone to the max, when you're playing intense gaming. And most of us, we are not doing that on our phone. We're not gaming intensely on our phone. Like something like some of these gaming phones, like the Asus phone out there that's brand new, that's coming out there. You got some of these Xiaomi phones and all those other phones out there where it's geared more towards gaming. It makes sense for those companies that manufacture to throw those kind of specs there. But for what you and I and a lot of people use our phones for surfing the web, checking out social media, making calls, texts, responding to emails, we really, if we're going to be honest, can get away with having some of these low tier and mid tier phones, saving money. When you look at the average price of these flagship phones, I just said it, you spend over $1,000. With this unlocked mobile phone I talked about that had a Snapdragon 632, $130 now if you go to Best Buy and pick it up. And when I was playing with that phone next to a phone that had much better hardware internals, comparing that Snapdragon 632 to one with a Snapdragon 855, for everyday use, I could not really tell the difference. Navigating through the phone, scrolling up and down real fast, trying to see if I can get it to slow down. I'm pretty sure if I was to push it, put a lot of apps on there, play some intense gaming on it for hours and hours and hours, then you would see the difference as you see the smaller battery starts to die out a little bit quicker. You start seeing a processor not being able to keep up as far as with the other phones, maybe starting to open apps a little bit slower after opening like 100 times with a lot of stuff running in the background. Then yes, but again, many of us are not doing that with our phones. The most we're doing, like I said, is maybe grabbing a picture from a text message or from what we see on social media and sharing it to someone through a text message. Hey, did you see what this guy posted on here? Or did you see what's going on over here? So for that average everyday task, these phones out there that we are able to save money on would be fine. And if you don't want to go that low, you got some phones like the Samsung A50, the Pixel 3a. They have a much better processor, going on average for about $350 at most. As I say, the mid-tier phones. For what we're going to use our phone for what you're going to use your phone for, it's fine. But while we chase those flagship devices, well, let's be honest. Because one, the commercials. People talk about what you see on TV or what you see on YouTube or what you see everywhere having an effect on what we buy, and it do matter. Especially when you see everybody hyping it up. We all fall victim. I am just as guilty. There are some phones that I swore I wasn't going to buy, but ended up checking it out because it was hyped up heavily through someone's social media or through someone's YouTube saying, this is the phone you got to get. This thing is awesome. This is the best thing since. The next thing you know, I want to check it out. I'm running to Best Buy. Do you guys got one? Can I check it out? And for the most part, some phones live up to that hype. Other phones don't. And a lot of time when it comes to these flagship phones, or really any device, the hype is just more than the device itself. Rarely do a phone or device have I seen outlive or overcame the hype. Man, I remember back when the Thunderbolt, before it ever came out, when people was talking about this thing being like this super droid, man. This being the phone that, there were more rumors about what this phone was going to be able to do than what actually happened. Man, people was more excited about this thing having all of this and being able to do that. And then when the phone finally, got closer, we started to realize that we were nowhere near all the things that people was hyping up about it, the excitement wore down. And then as we got closer to release, that excitement was pretty much dead and gone. And that's pretty much, I think, a lot happens with a lot of devices out there. It's the hype. It's the hype that excites us. We get so hyped up about the rumors, man. Talking about what this may have, what it may be able to do. It is more exciting to talk about the rumors than to actually use some of these devices itself. Because the reality is when you get to talking about rumors and hype beasting, you can imagine this. You can imagine having that. And you get excited about possible features and possible, abilities that may come with the device. And as long as you can imagine, it's like the sky is endless, or you can continue on imagining and seeing it happen. There's no limit to it. But the moment that it's official, that's it. You basically reached your limit. Your limit being whatever the device is. Whatever hardware is actually in there. When you actually start seeing real reviews and real hands-on, you realize this is what we have. And then that hype begins to kind of die down. Every year we see that, every phone. And one phone in general, I'm going to talk about later, or in really a few minutes, the Pixel 4 XL. Every year we get hyped up about the Pixel phones. Every year. Will this finally be the one that Google get right? We see leaked images. I remember the first image we saw that may be the Pixel 4 end up being kind of like a concept look that looked very similar, like the Samsung Galaxy S10 at the time. And we thought maybe Google is going to finally do what everyone else is doing, giving us a full screen device and catch up. And there was so much excitement. I posted on my website, the neXup.com, showing this image and, realizing that, hey, this is rumors, but I would like to see that. I would like to see Google finally keep up with the trends. Eventually, as we started to see more and more information come out there, the reality set in. It was going to be another Pixel phone. Not a Pixel phone like good Pixel phone, but a Pixel phone like the translate. The trend of the past couple Pixel phones where instead of meeting the trends that everybody else is doing, you see Samsung, you see OnePlus, you see LG even doing somewhat of it. Everybody trying to, do something where they get rid of this notch and give you more screen space. Apple did it with the iPhone. We like, all right, are we going to finally see that with the Pixel? And we didn't. We got this big forehead. But even then, we still kind of have some excitement because, all right, man, Sony going to be able to do this, man. And Google going to be able to put the software and do something awesome. Oh, we saw what Google did with one camera. Imagine what they're going to do with two. Man, get ready, man. They're going to do it. Well, we saw what they did. So, yeah, the reality is that we get excited because we see commercials, we see hype. But rarely do a device outlive or outdo our imagination. And we got to keep that in mind. So this holiday season, you going out there and you looking at these phones and you got sales rep trying to get you to pick up the latest and greatest because, depending on where you go, some of these reps may be getting a commission depending on what you pick up, especially if you jump on some of these accessories. Know what you're getting before you walk into the store. Some of these phones out there, like I said, the latest iPhone, especially the Max, they have a good camera. And if you need a good camera because you need that kind of power, you know what you're getting it for it, that's why you're investing in it, it makes sense. But if you're going out there just to chase the hype, and the reality is you really don't need all that. You may be spending more money than you are wanting to. And for me, before I get to talking about the Pixel, if I had to choose one device that I would have had to buy, like in other words, one phone I could buy this year, what I would consider my phone of the year, for me, it would be the OnePlus 7 Pro. I mean, I love that phone. The time I had it, yeah, it had some issues. I'm not saying it was perfect, but the issues that I had, I was able to overcome it. The issues that I had with the camera not being as good as that on my Pixel 3 XL, I could download Google's Gcam or modded software correction from XDA that will allow my camera to just have better software and improve the image overall. I believe it was Gcam or something like that you get over XDA. The other issue, I felt like the fingerprint scanner at times wasn't as fast as I wanted. And it could have been because, again, depending on what angle I had my thumb or whatever, it just didn't unlock like I wanted to. Well, the face unlock was just that much faster, where a lot of times I didn't even use my thumbprint to unlock my phone. And the other or last thing I would say that may have been a hang up for me, the Oxygen OS launcher. I didn't care too much for that, but I didn't need to. I was able to get pretty much a modded version of the Pixel launcher to throw it on that. And basically between that and the modded Gcam, it pretty much felt like a Pixel phone. In fact, when I put it next to my Pixel phone, I prefer using it because it was faster. The display was just, for me, had more of a pop. It was brighter, had a larger battery, so, a better battery life overall. I love the front-facing camera, the mechanized camera that sticked up or came up to take your or capture your face to unlock it. I loved all that. I really felt like this phone felt not just premium, but it had all the stuff that phoners and gadget guys would love, because it was able to do some things that felt future-proof, felt like we were finally there and was different from other phones out there. And that's what kind of excited me. I know some people didn't like the curved glass, and there were times where it did get in the way. When I was trying to play games, it got in the way for that. And yes, I got it. But again, most people are not gaming heavy on my phone. And even for me having that critique, since I picked my Pixel 4 XL, the game that, got in the way for me enjoying the curved glass on the OnePlus 7 Pro, which was Street Fighter 4 or something like that. I haven't been playing that on the Pixel 4 XL. So I would have been fine with that. I did end up selling that OnePlus 7 Pro and taking the money to help buy the Pixel 4 XL that I have. But yeah, if I had to choose what I consider the one phone to have, the phone of the year, for me, it'd be the OnePlus 7 Pro. But I'm curious for you. What would you consider the best phone of the year or the phone of the year for you? If you can only buy one phone, that's it. You couldn't get another phone. You could look at any other phone. Which phone would you choose and why? But let's go ahead and talk about the Pixel 4 XL, my real review. So I've been using this phone for about a month now, as a daily driver. And I said this was like finally used. I actually had a week or two to use it before I returned it to get my money back, to then, buy it again, as I had bought it way before Black Friday and got word that I was going to be able to save pretty much $200 if I went ahead and bought it later. So that's what I ended up doing, because the first time I picked up the Pixel 4 XL from Best Buy, I ended up buying an open box deal to save like 30 or 40 bucks. But when I heard that basically, I'm being able to save $200 on a brand new one that's unopened, I'm like, that's a no-brainer. So again, took it back, jumped on board, and made a lot of sense for me. So let's talk about the likes. Look, I've been with the Google phones for many years now. I talked about the Galaxy Nexus in previous videos, how, I started jumping on that one. My first Nexus phone had a Nexus 5. What else? I had the Nexus 6, the Nexus 6P. And then the Pixel 2 XL was the first Pixel I jumped on. Got a Pixel a year after that to have as a backup phone. Got a Pixel 3 XL. And now I have the Pixel 4 XL. When it comes to the software, I feel like Pixel phones and even Nexus phones are more optimized, to take advantage of Google software. You're getting fast updates. And I feel like because of that, that is the appeal for me. And if you're someone like that who You just want that experience. You want to know that when I buy a phone, I'm going to get updates as soon as Google put them out for at least 2 years. Then this is for you. And this is what's something that's going to be appealing to people like me. The other thing, like one of the reasons why I always keep, a Pixel phone in the stable. Instead of getting rid of my Pixel 3 XL, I kept it as a backup phone. But in about a couple months, Google's going to drop out of beta, for the next version. And I like playing with that. Even though I don't recommend trying that on a daily driver, just to have that to play around and compare and see what Google is cooking up for the next software. I enjoy that. And this is my appeal for Google phones. For the most part, battery life is normally better when it comes to the software side. Now, the outlier to that is the Pixel 3 XL last year. But for the most part, the Pixel 4 XL this year, the battery life is pretty decent for that phone, even though it has 90 hertz refresh rate. What else? The overall software. I just enjoy it. I just enjoy what Google can do when it comes to their software. And it excites me. It's why I, again, still own this phone. But then if I am to be honest and look at the things I say, okay, it's there, but I'm not really using it. And that would be motion sense. Look, it's a nice little gimmick. When I'm at the gym, every now and then I'll use this to switch songs and skip songs. But the reality, most people's not using that. And when you take that and astrophotography, the two things that they advertise so much about this phone, yes, those are nice to have as, all right, you add that on top of what else you have, if you have something else to add to that. But to make those your main gimmicks, for most people, they're not using that. Astrophotography, unless you're someone who's into astrology and you like looking at the stars and you're someone who's big into, space and you're someone into that, most people are not going to sit out there for 5 minutes to have their phone staring at the sky to try to capture a picture, especially when I can get better picture from NASA, from space. So I understand the capabilities. It's cool. I'm glad we're getting that far with cameras. But for most people, all right, it's nice to have as a gimmick. I'm glad Google put that in their wheelhouse, But the reality is, most people are not using that. You want to know how many times I used the astrophotography? Once. You want to know how many times I use that motion sense? Every now and then. Hey, I'm talking about really using. I'm not talking about the fact that, yes, I know that it's active when you reach towards your phone and your alarm going off and it's supposed to silence it. Okay. And even that feature, I reach toward my phone. I really haven't really noticed a big drop in my alarm, but maybe I'm not reaching for it at the right angle. I don't know. But that's not working enough to make me say, okay, I'm glad this feature's on the phone. So that in itself is like, all right, I see you got it there, but, I'm not going to give you negative points for it, but it's not something that is exciting me. And then you look at the things they can do better. Look, Google's cameras are good. It's the top of the market. Again, yeah, they got beat out by Apple this year, but at the end of the day, it's still a good camera. But no ultra wide. And people are using ultra wide. Everyone else have ultra wide on their camera. So I don't understand why Google didn't feel the need to put that there. And this leads me to my dislikes. It's just like so much hardware is left out. It don't have the RAM that it should. It don't have the internal storage that it should. It's just missing so much. You can have some more battery life. It can have a brighter display. It's like, again, I'm trying to be careful because I don't want to make the same argument I've been making the past couple of videos before that everyone else been bringing out there. But the reality is, this is a disappointing phone. It's disappointing because we're getting tired of Google not putting their effort in it. And now people are finally calling them out on it, and you feel it. You feel it. You feel it in this phone. It's not exciting anymore. And to be honest with you, I'm not even looking forward to the next Pixel anymore. It's to the point where I find just, in a way, gave up on looking forward to the next Google phone. Yes, it's a daily driver. Yes, it's a phone that works. It's reliable. It gets the job done. But honestly, I could say that about my OnePlus 7 Pro. It did the exact same thing. The one area that I would say Google did better with the Pixel phone over the OnePlus 7 Pro would be with Google Pay. And that was because only one scenario when I used my OnePlus 7 Pro where it didn't work with Google Pay, but it did with a Pixel, and that's using to pay for gas. And at the end of the day, if I had to choose between not being able to pay for gas or not having real features in the phone, I think I'd be okay with not being able to use my phone to pay for gas. I'm all right with that. Because I feel like at the end of the day, this phone, I cannot recommend to anyone. I really can't. I'm not going to recommend this to my brother. I'm not going to recommend it to really anyone looking for something other than pure Android. In other words, if you're a Pixel owner who you know what you're getting into, you've been in the game for a little bit, you know what to expect for Google, then I can recommend this phone to you. But for the average person that say, hey, what phone should I buy this year that's going to give me the best bang for my buck? I cannot recommend this phone yet. It's just too much left out. Even at the $200 discount. I know I said that before, that with the $200 discount, it's more easy to recommend. But the more and more I think about it, unless you know what you're getting with the Pixel, this phone's going to feel disappointing, especially when you look at all the other phones out there that is giving you more to play with, more bang for your buck, throwing in more hardware, giving you more internal storage. Yes, people are using that internal storage. As much as people may feel like, well, you can use the cloud. Well, even Google's kind of getting to the point now where they're kind of looking to take advantage of people needing more cloud space. And plus, there's just some people who rather keep that storage on their phone versus in the cloud. Whether it be movies, games, pictures, whatever. And there's no excuse. See, if it turned out that the reason why, Google didn't give us, the internal storage that something like a OnePlus gave us, or didn't give us that because the display was just worlds apart. Like if you look at the internals and you seen what they put in there and you compared it to what OnePlus was doing, there was like a clear difference in what one was paying and the other. And the difference being that Google was paying more for their hardware, so that's why they had to charge more for a little bit less. Okay, that would make sense. But that's not what happened or happening. Publications have came out and pointed out that they were using hardware that, when you think about it, wasn't better. In fact, they were using cheaper hardware, inferior hardware. It wasn't like we were having better storage space or faster read-write speeds. You wasn't getting any of that. In fact, the company that actually had faster read-write speeds was OnePlus, the company that we joked around for never selling. We know cutting corners somewhere. That didn't come with waterproof or water resistance because they wanted to save money. That company. Yes, come on. It's like, when you think about it, when you think about what you're getting, what you're paying for, what you're investing in, how long people buy these phones for. This is for me why, even though you pick up a Pixel phone, you're going to get supported. You're going to get the updates. You're going to get the thing that I wish was in other Android phones that Samsung failed to do at times. They're getting better at. That LG haven't been doing. That really Motorola at times step at, especially when you get down to the cheaper phones. This is one of the things that, yes, Google do right, but most people don't care about. And the things that people do care about, the features, the internal storage, the camera, the battery life, which will do good with the camera, but the battery life. This is what, for me, when someone asks me, what phone should I buy? Or should I buy the Pixel 4 XL? Do you recommend it? And I got to say no. And this kind of leads me to another area with Google, because I'm going to talk about the Stadia. Look, I enjoy my Stadia. I've been using it for a couple weeks now. When I do play it, especially Destiny 2, I enjoy it. I'm being honest with you. I didn't have any lag issues still. Now, I did run into one issue. Yesterday, when I turned my Stadia on, I was trying to get my remote to connect to the Chromecast. Because the way it works, when you go to play your Stadia, you don't just turn your remote on, it automatically works. It gives you a button code you got to push. And once you put the button code, it connects your controller to that Chromecast. So yesterday, I was trying to do that button code, and it went to this screen, and it would never pair, and then my remote turned orange, and it would never fix itself. So I tried turning the controller off and on, still couldn't get it to work. So I said, all right, maybe just try turning the TV off and on and reset the Chromecast that way or something like that. Still didn't work. So I said, all right, so I'm going to try to unplug the Chromecast and try that. After unplugging the Chromecast from the wall and plugging it back in, allowing it to do a reset, it did solve its problem. Now, I wonder if they would put out an update this week and that may have caused it, or it's just a one-off. I don't know, but I am putting that out there because I did have that issue. Now, it's the first time I had an issue. I didn't have that issue before, but I did have it. But as far as just the mechanics of using the device, no issues. I'm enjoying it. But I understand, talking to people about Stadia, the overall, and I'm not talking about Stadia people. Like, if you go to the Stadia's Discord and you talk to people who have the Stadia, a lot of people enjoy it. They like it. They have good things to say about it. But I'm talking about getting outside of them. I'm talking about just asking the public the overall consensus, what they feel about Stadia. And majority of people, it's negative. And for a number of good reasons. So here are the things that people are putting out there that have people concerned about Stadia. One, is it going to be around? Because one of the things that Google have as far as reputation, they will shut it down in a minute. Whatever project they're working on, if they feel like they're not making enough money, they're not getting the kind of reaction they want, they will cut it in a minute. And people are concerned that I am buying games and I am storing it in Google's cloud server. And they decided to shut that down. I just threw money away because I have no way to do anything with my games. Now, my argument to that was, though you're right, this whole idea of being afraid of cloud gaming because of that, I feel like it's very similar to what people felt back in the day when people was concerned about music going to the cloud and movies going to the cloud. Yes, those are very valid arguments, and you are right. In fact, I personally had a scenario where I lost my music to the cloud or had my music stored in the cloud, and the company lost it, and I never got it back. That example for that was back with the Motorola Droid. I had the Amazon MP3 player app. I bought some music through that, actually a number of songs through that, because again, $1 here or there, you don't think about it. So Amazon kind of upgraded, switched over to the new Prime server they had there or have now. And I lost a number of songs, and some of them I got back, some of them I didn't. And after that, I decided to say, all right, look, I'm going to wait to switch to Google Play Music. I feel like they would do a better job keeping up with my music than with Amazon. So I haven't bought any songs or music through them since. But people are right to have concerns that they can lose their music, music, movie, and games to a server if they shut down. And that'll be money spent that's gone. And now we'll talk more about that when we talk more about this cloud gaming being the future. The other concern people are having is that when Google came out there, they made a bunch of promises. And they only made or lived up to part of the promises. So what other promises they're not going to live up to? Why should I spend this type of money for a company that have not lived up to the promises they already made? And that makes sense. The last thing, where are the games? You see someone like Xbox and Sony that got the big name titles. There are no games to play. And again, all of those are valid arguments. And what Google really needs to do is get out in front of it, because the ads that they've been putting out there, the commercial, all the stuff they've been putting out there, for me, has been over, or haven't been doing enough to emphasize, the strength of this. Instead, they spending so much time trying to appeal to the hardcore gamers. Like, come here and be the hardcore gamers. And I feel like when it comes to gaming, I don't know if you're going to really get a lot of the hardcore gamers. A lot of those hardcore gamers that are about, playing games on a custom PC and stuff that they built themselves and having this type of hardware, you'll get their eyes, but they may be committed to what they already have. You got to get those people that, want that experience, but don't have the time to go build this PC. In fact, the other thing that you really should be advertising is just a convenience factor of playing on a cloud. Because, again, cloud gaming is the future. Despite people not wanting to hear that, it's the future. And I don't quite see that as a bad thing. And this is why. Now, I made a scenario about this on Discord, but if you go to, let's say, grandma's house or the in-laws' house, or you go somewhere, you go travel, or you go to a hotel, whatever. If you was to try to take your Xbox, your PlayStation, that means you got to pack it up, put it in your bag, or put it in your luggage and hope it don't get lost or damaged. You don't have to do that with Stadia. You can either bring a controller, which is much easier to carry, and that's it. As long as they have a Chromebook or Chrome browser, you got your Chromebook, or they got to have a Chromecast, you can play games. Just the convenience factor of that alone makes it worth it. Now, obviously, there are some mechanics that need to be worked out. The obvious, the fact that when it comes to gaming, you're going to need the Wi-Fi server to have enough for you to be able to play that intense type of gaming on their server. In other words, if you go to a hotel, is it going to be fast enough to play those type of games and not feel like you're losing out? The other thing, really, honestly, when it comes down to something like gaming in a cloud, is that, well, will you be able to have that without interruption? And will these hotels allow you to do that? If they have like some type of data cap that's going to slow you down, or they say, listen, man, you use way too much data. This is not meant for that. You're affecting the internet speeds for everyone else. You're slowing it down. You're really bringing down our network. We're kicking you off. That could really be a problem, especially when you look at some of these free Wi-Fi. It's not meant to be super fast. It's meant for you to do just enough. To go online, to take care of your business, even watch maybe a video or two. But for you to do the type of gaming that people are trying to do on this thing, you really need the infrastructure on the Google end to be right. And honestly, I don't know if it's there yet, because they emphasize how important it is to have a fast internet connection. And if you don't have that, how you're going to feel that degradation to gameplay. And you may have that, especially when you go to a hotel or something like that. So when you look at that, and then, okay, and I'll say the hotel, but if you go to a family member's house and they're on someone like, not Charter, but Comcast, where they have data caps, that would be kind of messed up for you to go to some place like that and you dropping that type of data on there. Now, they can't use the internet for the rest of the month because you decided you want to play your game. So there are some challenges that need to be worked out. We got to get the internet speeds out. We got so many things that, need to be worked out before we can embrace cloud gaming as the complete future. But I do see cloud gaming being the future because of the convenience, because you can take it on the go, and because what it allows for you to do. And if you think about it, we're pretty much about there now. I see when I go to Walmart and Target and some of these stores that have games that you can purchase. Yes, you can buy the physical copy, but also see where there are a lot of people, instead of buying the physical copy, they're buying a little card there that they can buy from the store and just download it and just use the activation code. And with more and more people just downloading the game online and just use the activation code, again, we're already on cloud-based gaming as it is to a point. Now, even though you download the game from the server, you still playing with it on your box versus the cloud. I get that. I guess what I'm saying is we're pretty much have things set in place where we can get there, where that's the future, that's pointing to where the future is going. As less people are owning what they're buying as far as their media, whether it be the games or music, and depending on the server of the company to hold all that, to host all that, to, supply all that so that we can access it anywhere we go from any device we use. The convenience of that is really what's appealing. And as much as people may feel like they don't want to go there, they don't want to see that become the future, that is the future. And Microsoft realized that. I won't be surprised if Sony is secretly working on something. Cloud-based gaming is obviously the future. We're getting that built up. And with everything coming forward, that's going to really be able to support that, especially look at something like 5G and, having the ability to access even faster speeds to your phone. And I'm not talking about the low band 5G. I'm talking about the upper end. I'm talking about what Verizon is doing. If we get to the point where I don't even got to say we got to be at that 1,000 up and down, but close to it. Yes, this is going to be something that we're going to be able to do on the go easily. And that's pretty much where, when I went to the 5G conference and you talk to the executives like Verizon and all the people are there, they're believing that basically that's where we're going. Everything's going to be done through the cloud, cloud-based computing. That's the future. That's where they believe everything is going. That is why 5G is important and why they're pushing it. And since this is really going to be where everything is going, where everybody's focusing on, having the ability to do so much through the cloud, is going to allow for, well, as they said, it's going to allow for you to have better battery life, going to have, the capability of having devices that's going to be able to be smaller as far as the size batteries you're going to have in a device. Why? Because of the simple fact that if you're not having to do the computing on your phone, and you can have it done to the server or through the cloud, it's going to make for overall better performance. And we kind of saw that experimented with Nest, where it was Nest. I'm not getting it wrong, but basically it was now I got to look it up. But there was a phone. Let me look it up. Cloud phone. It actually became the Razor phone. The NextBit Robin. That's what it was. So the NextBit Robin, it basically had the idea of a phone where everything would run through the cloud or through a server. So we're going to cloud-based computer. We've seen, glimpses of it. It's here. So that's why I see, even though Google may not be able to take full advantage of this, I see that being a place where we're going to go in the future. And that's really been something that had been the thing when it comes to Google, is that when it comes to ideas and software, I talked about it last week. One of the first to the wallet system, or the pay system on our phone, first to using your face to unlock and all that stuff. They may be first, but they don't quite get where it needs to go or take it where it can really be fully appreciated. Something like where Apple did with Face ID, to kind of take that face unlock and really take full advantage of what it can do. Or even something like what Samsung Pay has been able to do with pay apps. Google see the vision, but they don't quite get it all the way there. It takes another manufacturer, another company to do that. And I think when it comes to the cloud-based gaming with Stadia, Google see the vision, but they're not going to take us to the finish line. They're not going to take us to where we go. Someone else is going to get it figured out. And it's going to be a matter of who can figure it out. And if Google can be able to take Stadia and match or catch up to what other people are doing. Or would Stadia basically be another Pixel phone, where it's full of these promises, it's full of ideas, but it never reaches to its full potential. And I think a lot of people are concerned that that is the thing with Stadia, and that is why people are not ready to invest or jump on board with that, especially real gamers. Real hardcore gamers are not going to jump on board with that. And they made it clear. It don't have the titles. It don't have the clout. They don't trust Google. And honestly, they have a right to. And if you are an investor, if you are a shareholder, if you are someone in that, company that want to see this company kind of really grow and be able to fully take advantage of the ideas they're putting out there, you have to fix that trust factor. And a lot of the things that causing that can be fixed. It can be fixed. And it starts with fixing the ads. And really, honestly, getting back into the drawing board and really thinking about what you're trying to do. I mean, I know what you guys are trying to do. You're trying to get everybody to your servers so you can have ads and all that stuff. I understand that. But I'm talking about as far as to get your customers on board, what you need to do to get them on board. And it's not just with the Stadia. It's just anything when it comes to Google in general. What is it going to take to get people to trust your vision, trust that whenever you put something out there, it's going to be around and it's going to be supported. And they're going to get your best effort. Because they're not really seeing that when it comes to a number of Google devices. And I feel that, again, is a good argument, a good kind of thing to talk about. Because when I look at something like, Samsung, even though, again, as much as I do not like their software, what they're doing with their hardware is something to get behind. And having sold 1 million Galaxy Fold, look, it came out with issues. It had problems. Still have problems. I wouldn't even recommend buying it because of how expensive it is and how fragile it is. But you see that it has potential. You see the vision. You see that they forward region. You're seeing it got a lot of promise. And I'm looking forward to seeing the next Galaxy Fold. And will it be the one they get right? I think it's going to take the third one before they finally get it right. Even though they was able to get the phablet right by the Note 2, I think it's going to take another year before we get the folding phone right. That said, man, I am more excited for that than anything Pixel related. And in fact, before, when there were rumors of a folding device and Galaxy coming out with a Galaxy Fold, the thing I said, I can't wait to see a Pixel Fold. And I don't mean the Pixel 4 XL video that was shown by Jerry Rig Everything, where basically the Pixel folded. I'm talking about a real Pixel folding phone that mirrors that of the Galaxy Fold. I'm not looking forward to that because I don't have confidence that Google's going to put the kind of hardware behind it that needs to be put. If Samsung, who's willing to put the money behind it, that's willing to put the innovation behind it, came up short, and they're going all out, it right now, if you was to get a Pixel folding phone, that phone would probably fall apart before you take it out of the box. I mean, that's the reputation I feel like Google have right now. And this is something they have to fix. And until they fix that reputation, they're going to continue to lose the trust of the public. Now, I didn't mean for this to become a rant on Google, and Google software and stuff like that, because there are a lot of things that Google is doing right, but the trust factor, as far as when it comes to hardware and should people invest in it, there's not a lot of people trusting in it. And really, at the end of the day, how are they going to get people to be on board for them? And as much as, man, I am excited to see where we're going in the future when it comes to this technology, when it comes to phones, when it comes to software. I'm excited again for what Samsung is doing. I want to see them continue to push their innovation forward. I want to see what we can do with the Folding 2 or Samsung Fold 2. Man, those companies I'm excited to see. And I'm still excited to see Google's software. I'm still excited to see what Google can do in the software department. But hardware, man, it's weird though, because when you look at the Stadia, it's not really hardware, it's software, really relying on their servers. You would think that would be the thing, and they are, honestly, they are getting that right. They really are. Like I said, so far when I play games on it, they are getting it right, and I feel like they're getting a lot of bad pub for something that really partially is not fair. They're executing the gaming part right. Everything else they're not doing right. Whoever is running it, whoever is their spokesperson, kind of need to stop speaking and more start listening to what people are complaining about and redirect how they're advertising their Stadia, how they're advertising their hardware, and start paying attention to what people are saying, because people are telling you what's wrong with it and what they want to see fixed. And if you're able to fix these things, you'll get customers on board. But if you don't fix these things, or you keep ignoring it, or you just say, okay, well, we eventually will get there, we got to be patient, well, it's going to be before long before your competitor catch up, and then you lose your opportunity. Because it won't take long for Microsoft to catch up, I don't think. Or even if you don't trust in Microsoft, Sony can catch up. Or I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a partnership develop. What if Sony had a partnership with Samsung and they came out with a cloud gaming system? Man, come on. You have a Galaxy cloud-based system backed by Sony's PlayStation, and they're partnered together. And they are able to bring the games. I'm just throwing that out there. Google, get your stuff together. But before I get into closing out, start talking about my after credits, and I start talking about some sports and a couple of things dealing with crisis and so on and so on. Before the close of the song, I want to leave you with this to kind of think about, the thought of the week. If you knew you would get booed or you would get thumbs down, would you still do it? I bring that up because, even if you look at your greats, whether it be your great basketball players, your great football players, they've all had bad games. They've had days where they've thrown interception that cost them the game. Missed the easy shot that could have won them the game or won them the championship. But found a way to cost them a game or a shot at the playoffs. Whether it be in their pro career, their collegiate career, or their high school career. They've all been there. They've been booed before. And not just by the opposing fans, but even by their own fans as they made a bad play. They've gone home and had to think about the tough loss. Had to answer to friends, families, and loved ones about what happened. Can't go in a grocery store route. People want to know why you made that play, why you made that call. One example of that is in the New Orleans game. Even though I'm glad that my 49ers came out up top, people questioning Sean Payton. Why did you go for 2 there? At the grocery store. Forgetting that this same coach brought that team a championship. So, if you knew that people will boo you, people will question you, people will criticize you, would you still reach for greatness? Or would the boos, the questions, the thumbs down, will that keep you from trying? So think about that. If you're seeking out to try to do something, don't worry about the boos. Don't worry about the thumbs down. Because in aiming for success and aiming for greatness, you're going to have bad games. You're going to have situations, scenarios where you're going to have letdowns. Learn from it. And take that and do better next time. Have a good week. This is PC747 with the neXup podcast. I'm out. lightning storm is over, song is over. Let's talk after credits. So let's start with the 49ers. Man, my 49ers, we pulled one out. Beat the Saints. I just talked about us beating the Saints. Good job there. I feel like that 3-game stretch we had where we played the Saints, we played the Ravens, and we played the Packers. I said those 3 games going to kind of show us the kind of team we have. And they came out pretty good, doing much better than I thought. And Jimmy G has stepped it up. He stepped it up when it comes to quarterback play. He's getting better. He still every now and then have those happy feet. He still kind of makes some bad passes where he overthrowing the receiver and it gets tipped in interception, but not as much. He is really getting better there. He's doing a better job, and I'm starting to have more confidence in him. I think the team is starting to have more confidence around him. And man, I am glad to have a tight end back. He made a big beast play right there. That's how we do it. The basically winning in overtime. Give him some love. I am excited about the 49ers. I know we're going to the playoffs. I hope we can make a strong run and really do some things there. But we have really turned this team around from last year, man. We was pretty much, at the top of the draft, picking players. And now look at us, man. We basically have a chance to get home field advantage. We kind of need some things to go our way. Seattle is going to be the big game. And I kind of feel, I think the end of the year, that Seattle game is going to be a big game for us. Russell Wilson, no matter what, even every game he's been in it, but he's that quarterback that seemed to drive us crazy because we know he can beat us. And he beat us the first time we played when we could have put this thing in overtime. Definitely should have won it. So I am afraid of that game right there. So that is something I'm concerned about, that we got to get that win there. But yeah, I am excited that, 11 wins, buddy. We got a chance to get the 12th win against Atlanta. Now I'm not even going to count our win there. Be careful. That can be a sleeper game right there. Atlanta's hungry. They're playing spoiler. They have nothing to lose, and we may get their best shot. Atlanta can still play. They still got some receivers out there. They're not done. They're still prideful, and they're playing for jobs right now. So we got to go there focused. Actually, they're coming to Levi, but we got to be focused. We got to be ready. We can't come out here feel like, all right, we got this big 3-game stretch of 3 big teams. We're getting a break with a team that's not, up there as far as wins. They're, a lower caliber win team. No, Atlanta is still a good team. Right now they're going through some issues. I'm pretty sure their coach may get fired at the end of the season. We don't know, but Atlanta's a good team. They still got players, and they can sneak up on us and surprise us. And, we let one of these surprise games happen. Before long, we're going from being the favorite to have home field advantage to being a wild card. So that can be a big difference. We got what we need. We got the win this week. Seattle lost. We got to keep the momentum. We got to stay focused. Hopefully we use this game to get some more running in and, kind of take advantage of the clock and, get in there, get it out, get the scores we need, and get out of there healthy. That's very important. So we need to do that. So enough 49er talk. Hey, Lamar Jackson breaks Michael Vick's rushing record for the quarterback, and he leads the NFL in passing touchdown. Look, this guy is continuing to light up the NFL. We haven't seen a quarterback this exciting since Michael Vick. Some would say Kaepernick. And again, being a 49er fan, and I know I criticized, Kaepernick last week saying he's not where Lamar Jackson is now. And, one thing I did fail to bring out there, to be fair, Harbaugh did, pretty much change the offense to basically fit that style of quarterback. And you kind of got to give credit to Harbaugh for being willing to do that. If John Harbaugh was to go in there and say, you need to, be like a traditional quarterback, we may be seeing a different Lamar Jackson, but instead they decided to embrace that type of quarterback and design an offense around them. And we may be seeing a trend in the NFL because you're seeing a lot of these quarterbacks that are coming out of college that have the ability to run the ball and, run an offense, run pass option. and can be another running back. And you see, like, one of the challenges with Lamar Jackson is just how fast he is. Because he's so fast, and you got a fast running back who came from Alabama with him in the pocket. What they're saying is, look, you cannot duplicate that type of speed in practice. And it's hard. Unless you've seen it yourself, it's hard to duplicate that type of speed. And because of how fast they're able to run that offense and how fast Lamar Jackson is, it's making it hard to really, for defense to kind of, lock in on him and make the plays he wants. And this is why they're the favorite to, if not win the whole thing, definitely be in a Super Bowl for the AFC. So, kudos to him. I'm glad he hit that record. That's a Louisville guy right there, Louisville grad or Louisville player. My brother's from Louisville, so big ups to Louisville. And I think he said that there are a lot of Baltimore Raven fans now because of Lamar Jackson. And you know what? I am proud to see that. Yeah, to see kind of the offense in NFL kind of evolve to accept that type of quarterback, and he's exciting to watch. Even though, like I said, it's he gave us that loss. He made it challenging for us, and I don't want to have to play that guy again. But he's definitely a player to continue watching. And kind of my last thoughts, I want to talk about the Crisis on Infinite Earth. So, the Owlverse Crisis, they kind of had that on TV the past couple of days. Past couple of days. They had Sunday, they had 2 episodes. I want to say they had another episode on either Monday or Tuesday. I didn't get to see them live. A lot of time when it comes to these shows, I'll have it saved on my YouTube TV HDR. And by the way, I got to talk about that in another episode, but I don't know what's going on. Normally when I play my HDR show from YouTube TV, they play just fine, but something about this Arrowverse thing, maybe, I don't know what it is, but when I try to replay those episodes, the sound was just not working. So I don't know what happened. And it wasn't just one episode. It was or not one episode, but yeah, it wasn't just one show that did that, but 2 of them. So, or 2 or 3 of them. So I'm a little worried about, something there. I actually reported it. Hopefully, Google can get in that and get that fixed and get that figured out. But this whole Crisis thing, let me kind of talk about kind of the things I did like. I did like the tie-ins. I like how they tied in the Titans TV show from DC Universe, like some of the other characters throughout the DC Universe, Birds of Prey, and just a lot of characters like Smallville. A lot of shows you're like, all right, they're a part of the DC Universe, whether it be just a clip or so. You kind of felt like, all right, it really felt like the connected universe, and I felt it was a good way to kind of use that to shout out those other shows and to bring those in. And like I said, when I've seen some of those, I kind of like, those were kind of cool. And in a way, that may be beneficial, especially for their other shows like Titans. Like people may have said, yeah, I've heard of Titans. And that may be enough to get people saying, you know what, I may want to check out that Titans show because of that. So I felt that was a good tie in there. Now, some of the things I didn't like, it's like some of the shows that was an example of this. Black Lightning. I enjoy Black Lightning. I feel like right now that's the best hero-related TV show in the whole quote Arrowverse, whatever they want to call it, the whole DC thing, because I feel like it didn't succumb to the CW-ism where it gets kind of just all over the place. I feel like it has a more solid story. Now, at times it do kind of dip in that and it gets a little closer to that, but for the most part, they do a good job telling a solid story, have some good story points, and I enjoy it, except for this last episode, because I felt like this episode was geared more towards trying to build it up for this crisis, and I felt this show felt a lot like that, this CW shows, and it really brought it down to where, for me, this is one of the worst Black Lightning episodes I've ever seen. It just fell off and whack. I didn't like it at all, and yeah, that's the only thing I didn't like about it, is that because you had to set up Black Lightning to be able to tie into that show, I felt like those creators infected something they had that working right. And you can kind of see the difference between, the creators of those shows. Like when they already have a direction that they were trying to go with the Black Lightning show. And what they did with the Arrowverse version, not the Arrowverse, but the the one that they were setting up for Crisis, it felt like it was rushed. It wasn't thought out. It felt out of place. It didn't really feel like a Black Lightning episode. So that's the one thing I didn't like about it. And I know why they did that. They had to set something up for Black or for the Arrowverse, but I wish they would have done something else to set that up. But yeah, overall, if someone had to ask me, what are your thoughts on that? This so-called Crisis, because part 2 is supposed to happen next week. Or the last 2 episodes. I said part 2, but the last 2 episodes. But for the first 3 episodes, I say it's, it's basically your typical Arrowverse shows. It got a couple of cameos, showed cameo characters to make you say, okay, I remember that for those that seen different shows, stuff from Smallville, stuff from your other shows, and those were fun and good to point out, and I like that they played with that. I didn't really care so much what they did for Batman. I felt like they could have done something much better there, but still, it was kind of fun to kind of play with. Overall, again, it felt a lot like the Arrowverse shows, and I guess when you saw seeing all the promos for this, you was hoping that they really took advantage of the characters. They did something different, and that's what I'm kind of thinking they were doing. They didn't. They basically stayed true to their recipe of the Arrowverse. So, and knowing that, I feel like, all right, it could have been so much better, but it's basically in line with what they do. So I don't hate it. It wasn't as great as I thought it would be. But then again, we still have a couple more episodes, and those episodes can maybe change my thought. But so far right now, I felt, it played around with some characters in ways that I thought was, fun, and it was kind of all right. But, some of the characters that they're leaning heavy on, and I'm trying to think how I want to say this without spoiling it, but, there's some characters from the Supergirl show that I feel like that are getting, what I want to say, that are getting out in front, because for me, and I think a lot of people can maybe feel that way, Supergirl feel like the weaker of the shows for a lot of people. I could be, judges wrong, but I feel like it is. And I think using that and certain characters to try to, I feel like maybe advertise for Supergirl to maybe get more people on board, maybe get people maybe wanting to look at it more and putting them out there. It may be hindering them because there's a character in there that I feel like they're trying to put him out there, and it makes sense in a way why they would make him that way. He's not likable, And all right, so this next part going to be kind of spoilers. So, if you don't want to be spoiled, in 30 seconds I'm gonna spoil it. So I'm gonna get to it. So this is the part I'm talking about, and this is not full spoiler, but basically they're using the Lex Luthor character to do a lot of, or have a lot of emphasis in the show. Now, Lex Luthor itself is a brilliant character, and it would make sense why they would use him because of his brilliance and genius. It's just the actor that they have as Lex Luthor and the way they portray him, I don't like. I think if they wasn't gonna do that and they would use the Michael Rosenbaum character from Smallville, it may have been more of a more received Lex Luthor, to use there. But because of the actor, the Lex Luthor there, I don't think there's a lot of people who's like really feel like, okay, this feels like the Lex Luthor that, is brilliant, that can outsmart a lot of the DC heroes that's, on a same intellect level as Batman, or at times exceeding him, being considered one of the, or not the smartest character in the DC universe. You don't quite feel that from that character. You don't feel like this is a guy that's giving Superman fits all the time because, he's always ahead of Superman. You don't feel that. This guy kind of feels kind of naggy-ish, kind of like someone that you really don't like. Not because you don't like him because he's snobbish or whatever. You just don't like the character because, well, it's to me, the way they're portraying him is a bad way of portraying him. So, because they're using him a lot, especially in the latter parts of the Crisis, I feel like it's taken away from it, and I feel like they're missing an opportunity that could really be there. And that's for me why I kind of like divide on how I feel. Now, the next 2 episodes could change things, but yeah, I just kind of feel like overall the crisis is a typical Arrowverse crisis. As far as, is this the best crisis? Or it's like I don't want to say it was a crisis, but let me back up what I said. So is this the best team up show that they have? No. It's not the worst. I feel like the first team up was probably still the best for me right now. The second one, this is so far. I gotta see the rest of it before I can rank it. But right now, it's right there in the middle. It's okay. It's okay. I don't hate it. It's not the greatest. It's okay. I can watch it. I can maybe watch it. Actually, I couldn't, because I wanted to, see if I can go back and watch some of the episodes again. I really couldn't. I'm like, I wasn't really feeling it. So it's okay. I'm glad I seen it. I will check out the next 2 episodes, but it's okay, and I'll leave it at that. But that's all I got, guys, for my cool after credits talk. For real, I'm out this time. You guys have a good week. Enjoy the Christmas holidays as we get closer to that period. Those going out and shop, remember the reason for the season, and that's, the time for family and time to spend with loved ones, and make that the focus. It's not about presents. It's not about getting the right gift. Because a lot of the gifts that you worried about getting years from now, a lot of people are not going to remember. It's the ones that really came from the heart. It's the one that really focus on family that people remember. I don't remember all the gifts I got. I just remember the time I spent with my family. And if you can remember that, if you can make that the primary reason, you'll be all right, because we see this every year. People go out there, they go broke for all these gifts, and at the beginning of the year, they're trying to figure out how to pay these bills off. And that's how we continue in debt. Remember the focus, family, and keep that at the forefront. I'm out.